So, oh, thanks. Thank you, guys. Well, that was 4 years ago. And the reason I show you that is because that video played before what ended up being one of the strangest nights of my life. Because when Jimmy Kimmel said John Krasinski's name, John Krasinski was there. And he stood up and he told everyone to be quiet. And by everyone, I mean Matt Damon. And Amy Adams and Claire Danes and Harvey Weinstein and all these fancy people. And somehow I was hosting this event. And I'm not being falsely modest. Like, I get that we're all here right now. But I also know at some point this week you told someone where you were going tonight, and that person said who. And you said some things I'd done. They said, "What's that?" You said, "Go back to bed, Grandma, because she's sleeping." But I'm a niche. I understand that. But this is a really big deal for me, and I was so anxious for the week leading up to the event, and I couldn't sleep, and I was short of breath. And the night before, I said to my wife, I said, "Chloe," her name's Jen. I said, "Chloe, I think this might be a disaster." She said, "Mo, why do you think that?" And I said, "Well, I've been a comedian for 15 years, and what I've learned is that you should never tell jokes to the people who the jokes are about." My wife had the perfect answer for this, and I'll tell you what it was later. But jokes are something I think about all the time. They're a volatile type of speech. I mean, you just look at the news, the Charlie Hebdo incident 2 years ago where these 10 satirists were killed for drawing a disrespectful cartoon of Muhammad, who the killers believed to be the prophet of Allah, their Lord and Savior, which, by the way, he might be. I have no horse in that race. Muhammad seems like a nice guy. Jesus was popular with 12 dudes. Buddha's confusing. I'm pretty sure he's like an elephant or a sumo wrestler. The point is that these were comedy writers like me, and they were murdered. And I was so shocked by this at the time. I remember talking to everybody about it. And my mother said to me, she goes, "Well, can't these writers just write jokes that aren't offensive?" And I thought about it. I said, I'm not sure that's possible. Because all jokes are offensive to someone. I'll give you an example. My wife does this thing that drives me crazy, which is she's late for everything, and I'm an on-time person. Round of applause if you're a late person, typically. Few people. So, what late people don't understand about us on-time people is that we hate you. And the reason why we hate you is that it's so easy to be on time. You just have to be early, and early lasts for hours, and on time just lasts a second, and then you're late forever. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming. We were just talking about you. So, late people always try to rebrand late. They'll say, "I'm fashionably late," which is like saying, "I'm stylishly racist." Which is another thing about late people. A lot of them are racist. And the reason these late racists drive me crazy is they're often so good looking. I mean, you ever get ready for something with a late person? They look into their closet like it's Narnia. Like it's an infinite well of possibilities. On-time people are just like, this is what I look like. Sorry about that. The reason I'm an expert in this is I was raised by late people. My parents are ladies, and I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to pick me up from my swim class at the YMCA 90 minutes after the class would end. She was like the cable company. Like, I will pick you up between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. I was a 10-year-old child, just standing on a street corner in a dripping wet bathing suit and flip-flops. My mom wasn't on the way. She was at the book club talking about the color purple. I was like, Mom, I am the color purple. One year we went on a family vacation and we left for the airport 45 minutes before our flight took off. We lived 45 minutes away from the airport. My dad shouted at the security guard like it was his fault. This is the 80s, when airport security consisted of a high five and a pat in the ass. It was a different time. For late people, it was the golden age. And then I married a late person, like I said, and it's an issue. This week, we were heading to yoga, which is why I look excellent and feel excellent. I yearn for the day that doesn't get a laugh. I'm not even sure why we're laughing, but I'll go with it. So, we're heading to yoga. My wife says, wait for me, I'm not ready, which is silly, because you don't have to be ready for yoga, because all it is trying not to fart while stretching. And that's my life already, without the stretching. And clearly I don't belong in yoga. It wasn't designed for male humans, and you can tell when the instructor says, I want you to reach your hand back towards your bra strap and then lift up your leg unless you're on your period. I'm like, I'm pretty sure none of that applies to me. I've only had my period once, and I'm not even sure that's what that was. Some of the poses are outrageous. The other day, the instructor goes, I want you to push your chest into the mat and your butt in the air, and then pull up the front of your mat like a slut. I was like, all right. You know, I was trying to be a team player. I was like, I'm a bad girl. Like, I'm a yoga slut down on my luck, trying to forge a mind-body connection. And then she goes, that's right, pull up the front of your mat like a sled. Minor adjustment. Let me just close my butt. So my wife says, wait for me, I'm not ready. And I held my ground. I go, I'm not gonna wait for you, because you're a late person. I'm an on-time person. I don't want that entering into our marriage, because I feel like it's going really well so far. I try to put a positive spin on it. And she goes, fine. Passive-aggressive, classic for late people. And then she says, save a mat next to your mat for me in class. I said, Chloe, I'm not gonna do that, because I have more allegiance to my fellow on-time people than I do to you, my own wife. And that didn't go well. And so I felt bad, and then I get to class, and I put down my mat, then I put down a mat next to my mat for my wife, and this woman comes up, she goes, do you mind if I put my mat right here? I was like, no, actually, my wife is really different. Sometimes I'm so polite, I don't even finish sentences. This other woman comes up, she goes, I was like, we were like deferent whales, which is another pose I'm working on. Class fills up 100% full, wall-to-wall sluts. Except for the empty mat next to my mat, because my wife decided arbitrarily she just wasn't gonna come to class that day. I know! The ultimate layperson move! Absence! Class ends, empty mat. All the people can assume is that my wife is dead. Or that I've invented the fictional concept of having a wife so I can have this weird double-wide super mat. the most selfish possible move in the most socialist of exercises. And this woman comes up, she says, I hope your wife is okay. Which is the yoga way of saying, we hate you. But that's just my side of the story. In fairness to my wife, if she were here tonight, she'd be like, yeah, but you're not telling them. And I'd be like, excuse me, ma'am, there's a show going on. She'd be escorted out of the building. I've done it before, I'll do it again. That's what I love about jokes. They're just your side of the story. They're your opinion, which isn't to say they're always just opinions. Sometimes they're an externalization of your inner thoughts, and often your inner thoughts are inappropriate. I was at my urologist recently. Just chilling. No, I had a symptom. Don't repeat this. I had a symptom where, this is hard to say. I had a thing where when my wife and I would have sex, I would have like a pins and needles sensation in my urethra the moment I would ejaculate, which at first was exciting. At first I thought, oh, maybe this is a new type of orgasm. Maybe I've broken through. But then the pain didn't go away, and I was like, oh no. It's like when you're eating spicy food and you're like, that's hot, that's hot, that's too hot! But it was with my penis, which is much higher stakes than your tongue, which is your mouth penis, in a way. Oh, nobody calls it that, but So I explained this to my doctor, not in these words, and he's unfazed by it. He goes, it's not a big deal. It's probably a muscular thing. You're just trying too hard when you have sex. And I said, you're telling me. But I didn't say it. I just thought that. I was like, you know, and he was like, is there something wrong with your head? And, because I don't say a lot of jokes off stage, I just think them, you know. He was like, is there something wrong with your head? I go, no, I'm a comedian. He goes, you're a comedian? I go, you're a doctor? But I didn't say it, I just thought it. I was like, you know. He really didn't believe me. He goes, if you're a comedian, how come you're not funny now? What I wanted to say was, I'm gonna take this conversation we're having and then repeat that to strangers. And then that's the joke. You're the joke later. But I didn't say it, I just thought it, and I could say these jokes